Located on farmland donated by the Sawyer family, Brookside Cemetery in Watertown was formally dedicated in 1854. But burials there go much further back than that. Back, in fact, to the late 1700s. At least 13 Revolutionary War and 5 War of 1812 soldiers are buried there. It's also the final resting place of many figures prominent in Jefferson County history. With Halloween just around the corner, the Jefferson County Historical Society has a unique way to help everyone celebrate while learning about local history and the cemetery's many monuments, mausoleums, and graves. They've teamed up with Brookside Cemetery to offer cemetery tours. Here's a sneak peek.
Henry Coffeen was the settler of Watertown. He arrived here in 1800 and he was quite the entrepreneur through his lifetime. He built a hotel where the Woolworth building is now. Henry Coffeen also was instrumental in creating the first newspaper. He also was an assemblyman and a judge. He actually built a bridge where the Coffeen Street Bridge is now. Henry also created a business district on what is now called North Massey Street. He wanted to copy how the success was for the public square. However, back in the day, people didn't want to relocate there because it was too far away from downtown, which is only 2 blocks. But he did have some great successes. He also had several failures in terms of business. He also donated a lot of land to the city. The land where Public Square is now is what he donated to get that up and running. He also donated the land where the old jail is currently, and his home, after his log home that he built, is where the Stewarts is now. So he created a lot. He was very instrumental in doing a lot of type of entrepreneur work. Unfortunately, he passed away out of the state, and he ended up being penniless.
We are standing at the grave of John Byron Taylor. He was a famous businessman in the city of Watertown, known for owning the Light and Power Company of Watertown. He also combined all of the power companies in the area. There were multiple different businesses, and he made them all one. He was known as the father of power, actually. He was once married to the famous Emma Flower Taylor. That marriage ended in divorce. He then married his secretary, Ms. Greenwood, and she is buried here with him. This gravesite actually has room for 42 graves. Only 4 of them are filled. John, his second wife, one of his sons, and another relative.
We're here at the gravesite of James Black Wise. Mr. Wise started his business career early as a newspaper carrier, but he never neglected his studies. He attended Watertown High School and then went on to a commercial college. After a commercial college, he opened a newspaper and fruit stand at what is now known as J.B. Wise Place at the railroad station. Mr. Wise then ran for mayor in 1890, but was defeated. He ran again in 1891 and was again defeated. He was asked to run again in 1892, and he graciously declined. He then ran again in 1894, and he got the nomination and became mayor in 1895 until 1899.
John Nill was born in 1835 in Germany. He came to the United States when he was 18, and he settled in Utica where he was a candy maker. He brought that skill to Watertown, and he opened a shop on the corner of Coffeen and Arsenal Street. He later partnered with his brother-in-law, Henry Jess, and together they opened a bakery. Cigars were a big thing at that time, and people were complaining that they were of poor quality. So John and Henry decided to open a cigar factory. They called it the Pink Perfection. John was an abolitionist in his early years and joined the Republican Party during its organization. He was also a member of the Masons, which meant a lot to him. He had the 32nd degree rating. John was elected mayor of Watertown in 1888, and he was a member until 1889. He married Dorothy and had 2 children and died in 1919. The top row is the Knights Templar, and this inscription on the symbol is in Latin, and it means, in this sign, you will conquer. The next row is the Independent Order of Oddfellows, which he was a member of. And the bottom row is the Freemasonry, which is part of the Masons. And John's philosophy of life was based on his connection with the Mason and 3 principles: friendship, love, and truth.
We're here in front of the Boone Mausoleum. What's known about the family is that the first person interred here was Sarah Tilson Boone in the early 1900s. Her family, probably a generation before her, was known for donating the land on Arsenal Street, which is where the Arsenal Street Cemetery is. So they were very instrumental in helping that cemetery get started. And of course there is Boone Street, and that street was named after them as well. The last family member that was interred here was in 1950.
We are at the mausoleum of Colonel George Flower. He was the first mayor of Watertown. He's also a Civil War hero, and he started the Company C Regiment. He was a big businessman in Watertown, New York. He helped bring the railroad from Sackett's and Watertown to the area, and he also built the armory in Watertown. An interesting tidbit about this mausoleum is 2 little girls that he and his wife took in when their parents couldn't take care of them actually helped financially fund building the mausoleum, which is pretty neat, and they're buried nearby him.
We're at the final resting place of Edwin and Olive Paddock. Edwin was a prominent banker in Watertown and lived at Paddock Mansion with his wife Olive. Edwin passed away in 1909 and Olive passed away in 1922. When Olive passed away in 1922, she bequeathed the Paddock Mansion to the Jefferson County Historical Society to be used as a museum and a public park.
This year's cemetery tours will take place on October 22nd, starting at 11 a.m. Register online at jeffersoncountyhistory.org.